Welcome back to our channel. A quick recap of yesterday's results. We hit 3 wins and 2 losses with our player picks. We also had 3 bets that was returned. Our parlays was unlucky, losing by 1 outcome on both bets. Now let's delve into the action-packed lineup for today. The Charlotte Hornets, 1648, aim to break a 4-game road slide as they take on the Detroit Pistons, 11:52, in Detroit at 7 p.m. EDT. Looking at the markets, the overgame total is more appealing than the under, given that they've exceeded expectations in at least 89% of matchups this season. However, considering recent form, they've only gone over 50% in their last 5 games. The season cover rate is a high 75% to stay under the line. When it comes to the spread, it's a close call, but I lean towards the Hornets, although I'm hesitant to take the risk. For the team totals, Hornets to go over their line seems much more appealing to me, hitting in 78% of matchups while the other categories are fairly even. We will take a look into the alternatives with this one. For the Pistons, I also favor them to go over their line. They have managed this also in 78% of matchups. They have also managed this 60% of the season in recent form. These stats dominate the undermarket. We decided to stay clear of player pick for this game. So on to the next. The Phoenix Suns, 37-27, face the Cleveland Cavaliers, 41-23, in Cleveland at 7:30 p.m. EDT, rebounding from a 117-107 loss to the Boston Celtics, where Kevin Durant scored 45 points. Looking into the markets, the game total for this one seems to favor staying under, especially when considering the matchups. Recent form is a 50-50, while for the season it's 60% in favor of going over. It's a bit too close for comfort, so exploring alternative markets might be a good idea. As for the spread, I feel safer with alternatives, but I still lean towards the Cavaliers, given their favorable stats against the Suns in every category. The Suns team total is looking better for the under, managing this in 75% of matchups and 60% in the last 5 games. The season cover rate isn't so great, as it sits at 40%. Again, we may look to alternative markets if we are to bet this one. For the Cavaliers, I think this is one to leave alone. Looking at their recent form, it suggests they will stay under, yet matchups are a 50-50. The season clearly favors them going over as they have 78% of the time. For the players, we are going with Darius Garland to have less than 3.5 made threes. His cover rates are looking solid, managing a hefty 90% for the season. That's 36 of his 40 games played so far. His latest form is just as good, staying under 80% of his last 5 games. His matchups have also stayed under in all 3 games, making this one look like a solid bet. That's why we also took his under 23.5 points line. His season coverage for this one is a little less, but still a huge 75%. His last 5 stays at an 80% cover rate, while the same goes for his matchups. Obviously, we will most likely either win both or lose both, but with the stats, it's a bet worth taking. Now for Dallas Mavericks, 36-28, face the Chicago Bulls, 31-33, in Chicago at 8 p.m. EDT in non-conference action. Looking at the markets for the game total, the under looks more appealing, particularly with an 80% success rate in staying below the line in head-to-head matchups. Despite this, recent form and season coverage are almost even with the line. Looking at the spread, it's not a strong preference, but the Bulls have a slight edge over the Mavericks when considering the stats. Exploring alternative markets might reveal better options. For the team markets, the Mavericks stats highly suggest them staying under the line. In matchups, they have stayed under 100% of the time, while the recent form and season are almost even for both outcomes. Looking at the Bulls team total, the stats look too even to consider a bet. Both season and recent slightly favor them staying under, while in matchups they slightly favor the over. For me, it's too close to call with this one. Again, we are not keen on any player's stats in this game, so on to the next. The Golden State Warriors, 33-30, face the San Antonio Spurs, 14-50, in San Antonio at 8 p.m. EDT. For the markets, looking at the game total, we lean towards the over due to stronger stats, but it's not convincing enough. As you can see, they are fairly even. Exploring alternative markets might provide a more appealing option. Similarly, for the spread, the Spurs show solid coverage with 80% in their last 5 compared to the Warriors' 40%. Again, the other categories are basically even. While leaning towards the Spurs, consider adjusting the spread amount to enhance their stats. Looking at team totals, the Warriors is a close one. All the categories do favor them going over, but again, it's only slight. We will have to have a look at alternatives for this one just to even consider a bet. The same goes for the Spurs. The line provided is too even to call. As you can see, it does favor going over when looking at the stats, but again, we would only consider alternative markets. Looking at the players, we are going with Brandon Podziemski to stay under 16.5 points and assists. This one also looks good when looking at the stats. Having a 100% hit rate in his 2 matchups, 100% in his last 5 games, and a good-looking 73% of his 55 games for the season. The Toronto Raptors, 23-41, face the Denver Nuggets, 44-20, in Denver at 9 p.m. EDT, aiming to end a 3-game skid. For the markets, the game total line is nearly even, and although we prefer the over, it's not robust. Adjusting the number might make the cover rate more enticing. Alternative markets are a must with this one, in my opinion. On the spread, the Raptors at plus 14 look solid, hitting in every matchup and boasting a strong 78% for the season. Despite a slightly lower 60% in their last 5 games, it outshines the Nuggets' recent form and adds confidence in their performance. Diving into the team totals, the Raptors to hit over is looking like a solid bet going off the stats. They have managed this in 80% of matchups, while both the season and recent form sought at a 60% cover rate. When looking at the Nuggets team total, the stats tell a different story. We clearly prefer them to stay under their line as it's hit in all matchups between the two, 60% in recent form and a huge 75% cover rate for the season. For the players, we are taking Nikola Jokic to stay under 9.5 assists. His season cover rate is at a steady 61% cover rate. He has also stayed under in 80% of his last 5 games, while in matchups, he has 100% coverage in all 5 games between the two. We are also taking Kelly Olynyk to get under 25.5 points, rebounds, and assists. He has done this in 50 of his 62 games this season. His recent 4 is stronger, though, managing to stay under only 40% of the time. His matchups do boost our confidence, staying under our line in 4 of the 5 games when facing the Nuggets. Moving on. Boston Celtics, 49-14, seek their 50th victory against the Portland Trailblazers, 18-45, in Portland at 10:30 p.m. EDT. Looking at the markets, we're solely considering the over for the game total in this one, as the stats strongly support it, particularly in recent form and throughout the season. While matchups show a 50-50, exploring alternative markets could potentially bolster the stats. As for the spread, it's a bit uncertain given the expectation of a Boston win. Their stats look solid, considering the recent workload and uncertainty about starter playing time. Unless alternative markets can enhance the stats, it might be advisable to refrain from making a move on this one. Looking at team totals, we are expecting Boston to go over their line as its clear favorite when looking into stats. They have managed this in 75% of matchups and season, while it sits at 60% for their recent form. We also like the Blazers to hit over their line. Just take a look at the stats for this one. Another 75% cover rate for matchups, 100% for recent form, and a decent 64% in the season. Expecting both teams to go over could also help when looking at game totals. No lines are available for Boston yet, so we will update you with this game in the pinned comment. That's it for today, folks. Remember, stay safe and good luck with your bets. Please like and subscribe, and see you in the next one.